Stink, that's a tall order for the Eagles to try to slow down this Saints offense. How do they do it? Where do they even start?
Well, I think the first thing you have to do offensively, if you're the Saints, if you're the Eagles, you got to stay on the football field. You cannot. You watch the Saints play offense, and it is a thing of beauty. First off, there's no coincidence in the best three teams in the league, the Saints, the Rams, and the Kansas City Chiefs, all have outstanding offensive lines. And I think the Saints are the best of the three, the best of the bunch. They're outstanding. And so one thing that the Eagles are going to have to do is when you watch the Saints, it's everybody involved, and they do everything well. It doesn't matter if it's Kamara, it doesn't matter if it's Ingram, it doesn't matter throwing the football. They are going to put points on the board. They are going to essentially, they're going to go after you, and they're going to do it in a myriad of different ways. You got to keep them on the sideline. Like when I watch, you're not going to slow down or you're not going to completely halt this Saints offense. There are too many weapons. There are too many opportunities. And, I mean, even when you talk about a kid like, what's the kid's name? Taysom Hill? Taysom Hill. That kid
That package they run for him.
He's amazing. Last week, he lined up. One, he was the kick returner. Then he lined up at quarterback. He lined up at wide receiver. He lined up at tight end, not only in line, but in the slot. I mean, like he lined up at H-back and running back. Like, there was no place they didn't put it. And it's not like Baltimore. You know, have you watched Joe Flacco's body language when they bring in Lamar Jackson? Yes. He's like...
It's so bad his wife criticized him.
Right, yeah, right.
His wife told him, look like a football player.
Drew Brees runs out, like, he's going to... I'm going to go catch a pass, maybe. Like, Drew Brees is excited about it. Like, they genuinely... As much as the Philadelphia Eagles loved playing together last year, and there's something about that chemistry that you talked about yesterday. You just can't create that. It happens. You put the Saints on film, and you're like, these dudes, I mean, I'm just sitting there with my clicker going, these dudes love each other.
Yeah, the difference is they don't have to tell everybody that they're doing it.
What about Dez Bryant being there for half a week? Now, you know this does not happen, especially with wide receivers, diva, all the stuff coming about. Every time they get into the end zone, they sending out a tribute to Dez by throwing up the X's. Yeah. That speaks to the stuff you're talking about.
Last week, some dude with 18 came out off the practice. I don't even know his name. 18. I'm like, who's 18? Got a 43-yarder. You know, hey, I'm open. I mean, it's unbelievable. So going back to the Eagles, what do you have to do? Well, you're going to have to change some of your game plan. You better possess the ball. You better slow this thing down. The average game has 12 possessions per side. You better slow that down to about 8 if you can, 8 or 9. If you give them the full 12 possessions in a game, they're going to beat you.
And you mentioned the offensive line. It's a great point. Very few people in this offensive era that we're seeing in 2018, very seldom are we ever going to talk about. But these offensive lines, and those three that you mentioned, the Rams, we know what they do. Kansas City, we talk about all the skill guys on both those teams, but you painted a great picture. These are three of the better offensive lines that we have. Now, huge question mark over the next month. Saints lost their left tackle. All right, so with him being out, one of the best left tackles, Armstead, what are they going to do? But the thing that makes you smile is Sean Payton, as an offensive coordinator, yeah, we talk about McVay, what he's doing with the Rams. Sean Payton's been doing this for a long time, and no one stresses your defense, puts pressure on your defense, and like Belichick, gets his guys to do what they do special and doesn't have them and let their weaknesses be exploited in NFL games. Sean Payton is special, and let's see what he creates week in and week out, because he's going to do that against the Eagles.
Real quick, and you're 100% right, but Jermon Bushrod has been a Pro Bowl player, and I was at Saints camp this year and worked some with the offensive line as just kind of a day-long consultant, you know, and it was in the meetings. It was awesome. The Saints, they couldn't have treated me any kinder. But Bushrod is a guy that's a former Pro Bowler that wants to, like, he's there because he wants to be there, because he understands how good this team is. He's played forever, and he's like, this is a great opportunity. And he is playing. He's fresh-legged, and he's a guy that's very skilled. And they won't, I'm telling you, as good as Armstead is, they're not going to miss a beat. And that, when you have that kind of depth, and that, again, that kind of chemistry where people just are there because they're like, damn, I want to be a part of this. Like, yeah, I could retire or I could have gone somewhere else and had a chance to start, you know, but I want to be here because This is special.
So we know that Philly, if they're going to have any chance, you mentioned time of possession, score some points, score a bunch of points.
Right.
But how are they going to slow down the Saints? The Eagles' secondary has been the biggest weakness on their team. I think it's been the single biggest reason they're 4-5 instead of having a winning record, instead of being 6-3, as a lot of us thought they'd be at this point in time. And their secondary is going to be worse in this game. At least worse personnel than it's been at any point all year. They now don't have. They lost Darby in their last game.
I think they have one starter from
Malcolm Jenkins.
From where they started the season.
He's the only guy left of their initial starting secondary. So that's going to put even more pressure on that defensive front to be what it was last year, which was the strength of the team, even more so than Carson Wentz in the passing game, that rotational pass rushers. But this is where the Saints put you in such bad positions. Because of that offensive line, Saints are allowing the second fewest sacks in football. Yeah. You can't just play the pass because they're the number 8 rush offense in football. And that's with Mark Ingram not even playing the first quarter of the season. Like, that, they're not turning the ball over. Drew Brees only thrown 1 interception all year long. The only way that I think the Eagles can make this a competitive game, much less win it, is if they have their biggest pass rush game of the year. I said it yesterday. You loved this stat. 84% of drives that have a sack do not result in a first down or a touchdown. If you get a sack's not a turnover, but it is damn close. Once you get a sack, that is the definition of a drive killer. And so the Saints haven't been giving up any because of the offensive line, but that's the Eagles' only path, because it's almost impossible to win the turnover battle against a team whose quarterback never throws picks, because fumbles are random and luck, like who falls on them. So how are you going to get the requisite possessions? How are you going to get them off the field? You got to have your pass rush show up. Unfortunately for Philly, they've had a league average pass rush this year, which, given the talent they have on that line, should not be the case.
Quick question before we break. We've heard a lot of mixed messages from Doug Peterson, and it's something that's bothered you at least all week. Now that you've gone back and forth with your team and you're going up against a team like the Saints, what is the message? What's that last thing you say to this Eagles team before they come out and face the Saints, so at least they're galvanized in some way?
Jenna, I bring that back to the underdog. I bring back those masks and everything. That's what I would go back to, because I know it works. They're going to be the underdog the rest of the season. Look at the Eagles' remaining schedule. Happens to be the toughest in the National Football League. Because now maybe the Eagles might understand. Doug Peterson might understand. The league office right down the street, Park Avenue, whoever wins that Super Bowl, ask the Patriots. Everything is set up for them not to repeat based on scheduling, prime time, not continuity in the schedule, everything. And the Eagles have played that way, helped them out. So not getting it easier coming down the stretch.
I think one thing you have to understand, and I know we're tight, but you talked about the pass rush, Nick. Here's the deal. The Saints are so balanced, and they're so good at everything. You know how many legit pass rush opportunities you get?
Right.
You get about 8 a game when you play the Saints. Tops, because the ball is out, it's on time, they've got great rhythm to the offense, they're rarely off schedule, and they run the ball. So, hey, good luck. Here's Drew Brees, one of the best that's ever played the game. He's smart, he's intelligent, he knows exactly where he wants to go with the football, and you're going to get 8 legitimate opportunities that go beyond 2.7 seconds where he holds the ball. Good luck. You got 8 tries to get the guy. Good luck. I hope it works out for you. You know what? Hasn't worked out for anybody.
No.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.